Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all my brothers and sisters who are present here, and a very pleasant greetings to all atheists who are present here. So on today we will be discussing on the topic of scientism, and more specifically, is science is the only way to the truth. In today's modern world, we see a new phenomenon. If you go and ask someone whether do you believe in God, they say we believe in science. So this excessive and exaggerated belief in science as the only way to the truth to discover epistemological and moral values is something that we need to discuss in present times. The over glorification of science is something that we need to examine in both an intellectual level and on very rational level. And on this particular day, we will be having a brief introduction into scientism, the criticism of scientism, and what are all the limitations of scientism by exploring philosophy of science. And Dr. Sayu will take a session, will take a very short session on the same, and then we'll go for a question and answer session. So this will be a very in a discussion format. First, we'll have a honorable speaker who will present the topic, and then we have Q&A session. Over to Dr. Sayyid. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers, uh, and greeting to all the brothers. Very good afternoon. Here it's afternoon for me. I think it's night for you. So let's straight away go to the topic. Is science the only way to truth? This is the question we are trying to discuss today. So when someone makes a statement, science is the only way to the truth, or when someone says science is the only way of knowing, the first thing which comes to our mind is that, is this statement actually coming from science? Science is the only way to. Can this statement be proven by science, or can we find this statement, the truth value of this statement, by science? Definitely no. This is a philosophical statement. This is not a scientific statement, and science cannot prove this statement. Science cannot find evidence to support this statement. So this is actually a self-defeating argument. So if this argument is not from science, we can call it unscientific. So when someone says science is the only way to the truth, it's actually unscientific. It is, and when he says that this statement is coming from science, he's actually making a pseudo-scientific claim. So if you attribute something which doesn't belong to science as science, this is called pseudoscience. So this is the foremost thing which comes to our mind when someone says science is the only way to the truth. Now let's examine what is the different ways of knowing, what is truth, and what are the different ways of arriving at truth. So generally, when we say the different methods of knowing in epistemology, or the study which deals with how we know, there are four different types of fundamental ways of knowing. So the first one is knowledge by intuition. So things which we know of us know intuitively when we are born, when we gain our senses, when we when we get the consciousness, we immediately know certain things, like, yeah, there is a world around us, and this world is real, there is time, and all sort of things. So these are the knowledge by intuition. And then there is knowledge by empiricism, things which we know by experimenting, or things we know by, like, when you touch a hot object, you know, oh, it's burning. And when you touch an ice cube, you know it's cold. These things you know by experimenting. It's empiricism. Then the third source of knowledge is rationalism, things which you use your ability, the faculty of reasoning, your logic, to arrive at a conclusion. So you observe somebody from distance. He's trying to touch an object and immediately taking back his hand. So you use your logic to understand that, yeah, there is something, either it's too cold or it's too hot. That's why he's taking his hand away. And then there is another source. We told three sources. The fourth source is authority. So here we trust an authority. So when you go to school and study science, social science, maths, language, you are trusting the authority of the school. You trust that, okay, they know these things, they can teach me the truth about these things. So you're trusting that authority. So this is called knowledge by authority or knowledge by testimony. This type of knowledge we use in court cases, like eyewitness. So like in criminal cases you have eyewitness, so that the court trusts the testimony of the eyewitness. So this is the fourth type of knowledge. Now, what is science? Science actually uses, out of these four types of knowledge, science is based on two types of knowledge, that is empiricism and rationalism, or knowledge by reason. Rationalism is also known as knowledge by reason. So empiricism, so science uses experimentation to gather data. Then science uses the rationalism or the knowledge by reason, to arrive at certain conclusions about the examined subject. So this is how science works. So when we generally talk what is science, the scientific method. When I say science, I mean the scientific method. So the scientific method is a systematic process of gathering and evaluating evidence to test ideas and answer problems. Scientists may use intuition, authority, rationalism, empiricism to generate new ideas. Scientists then use systematic empiricism to make observation under different controlled conditions to test their ideas, and then they use rationalism to obtain conclusions. So the key components of a scientific method is verifiability, predictability, falsifiability, and fairness. So the experiment must be replicable by another research. The theory that we arrive at, it should be able to predict some future prediction. It should be able to make future prediction. Then another component of scientific method is that falsifiability. The conclusion you arrive must be falsifiable. And then there is fairness, like the data, you should report all the data, not just the data that conform to your previous idea. You should report all of the data. So this is the, like, how we define science. And a fundamental nature of science is that we use a certain type of we already mentioned the method of knowing as knowledge by reasoning. So we use a certain type of reasoning in science. This is called inductive reasoning. So suppose you have an infinite number of boxes around you, or maybe not exactly infinite, but maybe suppose an uncountable number of boxes, a lot of boxes. So what you do in science is you just open like a limited number of boxes, maybe 10. You observe that, yeah, you have 10 apples in each box. Or then you so you then you make a hypothesis that all of these boxes have apples. Then you validate that hypothesis by uh, observing more, opening more number of boxes. So maybe you'll open another 10 boxes, and again you observe that, yeah, all these boxes also contain apples. So now you have a theory, scientific theory. Now this theory can be maybe validated 2 or 3 times. So you open another 10 boxes, then another 10 boxes. So now maybe you have opened 40 boxes from the infinite number of boxes, or some uncountable number of boxes around you. But your theory is a valid scientific theory now. It is a valid hypothesis. It's tested. It's a valid theory. It's like you can keep on testing. But however, however much you count, open the boxes, still it's limited. Like now it's 40. Maybe you can open another 10. Then it's 50. Another 10 is 60 boxes. But still it's limited. It's not. You have not yet opened all the boxes. So now what happens is that, suppose you have already opened 60 boxes, the 61st box may or may not be apple. It may contain, there are 100% chance that the 61st box may it can contain an orange instead of an apple. So this is how science works. So when you find an orange instead of apple, you revise your theory. Your theory is no longer valid. So you may add some more variables into your theory. Maybe you will say all these boxes contains either apple or orange. So this is how science, this is the a fundamental nature of science. So because of this nature of science, whatever information, whatever conclusions we have in today's science is not absolute truth. It can never be absolute truth. It is, it it is ought to change. It should change tomorrow. So when someone says that the present science is the truth, he is actually making an unscientific claim. He is actually against science, because as a scientific researcher, you can never say that today's theory is the truth. You are supposed to question, you are supposed to doubt that today's theory, and uh, keep exploring to know the truth. So in science is a quest to know the truth, but science is not never the truth. I told four types of knowledge, and knowledge by intuition, empiricism, the reasoning. So even though we say that the two methods of knowing, that is knowledge by reasoning and knowledge by empiricism, are the main foundation stones of science, we do use other types of knowledge also in practice in science. So like when you do an experiment, you are actually you are not doing all of the experiments yourself. You may cite previous papers, previous scientist experiment. You may refer to the paper. So this is actually the uh, the authority, knowledge by authority method. When you cite the paper, if you do it yourself, it is scientific method, but when you cite, it is knowledge by authority. And likewise, we use certain axioms or self-evident truths in science, like about time. What is time? Time, we all know intuitively what is time, but it cannot be, it is not something that you can define by science. So here the method of knowing, intuition, is also used, practically used in science. That's what I came to say. Uh, so now there are some axioms or self-evident truths, or things which are considered to be true but which cannot be proven otherwise. This kind of information or uh, statements are known as axioms, or we in science we generally say assumptions. So there are some assumptions in science that cannot be proven by science. So it's like one I already told about time, and the other one is the uniformity of nature. So suppose we make a scientific theory, we assume that this theory is valid throughout the universe, but can we prove that it is valid in a distant maybe 200 light years away, one galaxy, that the scientific theory we made here? No, we cannot prove it, but we assume that it is constant, it is uniform throughout the space. And another one is, we assume that the science with scientific theories we make are valid throughout time. It is valid yesterday, it is today. So suppose we make anything in the classical mechanics, Newton's laws, we assume that it is valid yesterday, it is valid today, it is tomorrow. With it is valid within its domain, it's applicable in macro world. So these are some assumptions in science which we cannot prove otherwise. So basically these assumptions are coming from intuition and reasoning. Now when we think of why science cannot be the only way of knowing, so we already mentioned why it is a self-defeating argument, but we have to explore more on this. So there are some things which science cannot observe. So for example, when you talk about history, uh, like when you make a historic statement, like India got its independence from the British in 1947. This is a historic statement. This cannot be proven by science. So there are things which are not empirically observable. Science only deals with those things which are empirically observable, and for for those things which are not empirically observable, we have to use other ways of knowing. So like we already mentioned, four types of knowing, four ways of knowing, and we understood that the science is composed of mainly two types of knowing. So other disciplines of knowledge are composed of different combinations of these four types of knowledge. So when you talk about mathematics, it is the source of knowledge we use in mathematics are knowledge by induction and knowledge by reasoning. And when you speak of history, the sources of knowledge we use in history are knowledge by authority, knowledge by rationalism. So each discipline have a different combination of these four sources of knowledge. So the subject which we try to explore, uh, the subject, the nature of this our interested subject. So according to that, we have to determine what source of knowledge we have to use. So when somebody make a historic statement, it is not possible to use science to test that, so that statement, to verify that statement. So we have to use the historical evidence to verify whether India got independence since 1947. So when you take historic statement and try to find evidences, you have to use knowledge by authority, and you have to use knowledge by reasoning also to uh, uh, to know how to like to see if the authority is trustworthy, to check the reliability of the authority. So this way, uh, those things which we cannot deal with science, we have to use uh, different combinations of these sources of knowledge. And it's same for the for mathematics. In mathematics, we most of the things we cannot find, or we cannot find evidences through science for those things which we deal in mathematics. If someone says 1 plus infinity is equal to infinity, this cannot be proven by science, but it's a valid mathematical statement. So each of the different uh, disciplines of knowledge has a particular way of approaching it. If it is a empirically testable thing, of course science is one of the best ways to verify that there's truthness of the statement. But if it is not very empirically verifiable, we have to use other source of knowledge. Mm. So when we say about this evidence, scientific evidence proof, I think I have to elaborate a bit on the difference between evidence and proof as well. So evidence is a different thing and proof is a different thing. So evidence is a piece of information that is suggestive that one particular statement is true. But proof is something that it's a logical uh, syllogism that proves, that conclusively proves the statement. But evidence does not prove anything. Evidence is just suggestive. But proof is conclusively establishing a statement, a truthness of a statement. So you must have, if you have a little bit experience of mathematics, you in school levels, you know that whenever we make a mathematical proof, we say hence proved in the end. However, you do not see this in science. You never see hence proved in science. Why? The reason is science does not prove anything. Science actually finds evidences to support statements, but science does not conclusively prove anything. This is uh, I would like to quote Daniel Dennett. He's a, uh philosopher. He's also an atheist himself, but he says that to talk of scientific proof is a dangerous idea. I'm actually like quoting him from a secondary source. However, he says to talk of scientific proof is a dangerous idea. This is because when you say something is proven by science, you stop there. You cannot go further. It stops there. Like in mathematics, when you see, say, Pythagoras theorem is proven, it is valid 2000 years ago. It is valid today. It will be valid after 2000 years. But in science, things does not work like that. The scientific conclusions valid today will not be valid tomorrow. So you cannot say science has proven a thing. Science has found evidence to support a statement. However, it does not prove anything. So this is the difference between evidence and proof. So when somebody says scientific facts, it is not something that is engraved in stone. It can change tomorrow. However, some theories may be like the chances of changing may be less, some may be more. However, there is still a chance of changing. So this is what I would like to introduce about science and scientificism. I think more we can discuss more during the discussions. Okay. Okay, brothers. Assalamu alaikum.
So the forum is open for questions. If you have any questions, you can ask to Dr. Sayub. So he has specifically highlighted certain fundamental things about science and what are all the limitations of science. And there is a widespread belief that science is the absolute way to the truth. And he has practically demonstrated the limitations of science through his subject expertise on that particular area. So, in today's world, there is a very dangerous trends that we foresee where people actually take moral decisions based on science. So, Dr. Sayub, let's open the forum on this particular directions. How do you see when people take certain moral decisions based on science? For example, we have a trend in the Western world where they justify things which were previously considered as sins using science as a what we call it as a evidence to justify those certain moral decisions. So what is your view on it, like on the same?
Okay. Okay, so science can give you science is science can help you to make a knife, to make a sharp knife. Science can help you, but science does not say how to use it. You can use it to cut vegetables, or you can use it to cut somebody's hand or something like that, do some crime with the knife. Science is neutral. When you say uh, in morality, science has no stand. It can just show you information about the natural world, how things behave, how things interact, and how you can use those knowledge to make newer technologies. However, science does not say this is right, this is wrong. That's not within the scope of science. It's out of scope of science. We need some other source, some other disciplines of knowledge to deal with such things. And the problem when I see some people say, for example, something they see, say, okay, science has found uh, this kind of behavior is there in the natural world, so this is right. Somebody says like that. So if you say like that, there are some animals which kills its own offsprings. Can this be right? It cannot be right. So it is just science just tells you how the physical world, natural world works. Does not speak anything about morality. That is, so somebody, when somebody says morality is when they attribute that to science, it is a pseudo scientific claim. Yeah, I think I have answered that question. Maybe somebody else can answer.
Yeah, the forum is open for the audience, you can raise your hand and we'll let you in and you can pose your questions to them. Okay, Jazim Malik is interested. We'll invite him. Mr. Jazim, you can actually pose your question.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm a practicing Muslim. My question is the idea of God inherent to human beings from the birth itself?
Okay.
Hello. The,
Walaikum salam.
the question, the reason why I am asking is that recently I heard this Yasser Qadhi lecture, Ash'arism versus Salafism. It was a talk conducted by Yasser Qadhi and another scholar from Ash'ari tradition. Uh, so my basic question is whether the idea of God, idea of Allah, is inherent to human beings from birth. Thank you. And
Okay.
thank you.
So I think, as I understand, recent psychological studies suggest that the idea of God or a supreme being, like an agent, a supernatural agent, is inherent in human beings. There are some recent psychological studies which suggest that this idea, even in families, even in atheist children who are born in atheist families, the children, uh, as early as from the age of 3, they have this innate idea that there is an agent behind this, some idea. So we can say that it is inherent, the idea of God is inherent. So these are from psychological studies actually.
Yes, I have seen that study.
Mr. Jazil, there is a book called Born Believers: The Science of Children's Religious Belief. It's a book by Justin L. Barrett, and the book actually tries to demonstrate through various experiments and through various studies that the idea of God is something which is inherently present in us. So the book name is Born Believers: The Science of Children's Religious Belief. You could actually go through that book for your further
Can
reference.
you please
And
author name, please? Author name.
Okay, author name is Justin L. Barrett. The book name is Born Believers: The Science of Children's Religious Belief. And there is a new emerging area called neurotheology. Neurotheology is an area which is they conduct studies related to how our brain reacts when we do meditation, when we do prayer, and all those things. In neurotheology, so many research have practically concluded that when we do some sort of meditation, we get a lot of neurons which act in a way that gives us mental peace, and all those things are there. So you could explore more on the same, and to the next we'll go to next question. Mr. Mohammed Naufal, do you have any question? Okay, we have Mr. Abbas. Yes, sir, you can please pose your question.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum, brothers. Just a couple of days we had one question from one doctor. He said that for few insects and for few beings, it is not having pairs of our soul. See, he was telling few insects are not having male and female pair. It is having it will be able to transfer from one gender to another gender. What about this one? See, while discussing 36th verse of 36th chapter, the atheist they were quoting that a few insects in the plants are not having pairs like earthworm Like that, they quoted like this. So I need clarity on this.
Uh,
Okay.
thank you, Mr.
I'm not so good in biology. I think somebody else can answer this question. Maybe Naufal, Mohammed Naufal.
Okay, I didn't hear the question which he have raised, but I have a little bit to comment about the question which he raised before. That is, he is about to mention that is the Islam is inherent to everybody by birth. Is it the
No,
last?
no, no. It was just a belief of God, not about Islam. I think it just belief in God.
Okay, 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 okay. We have the Islam.
Okay,
Islam
Mr.
have. Okay.
Uh, Abbas has actually raised a question. I'd like to add some value to it, and then we can go to for Mr. Naufal. So the particular verse which they were actually quoting, traditionally our scholars have given the explanation in a very philosophical term or in a metaphorical term. Like when Allah says He has created things in pair, it refers to day and night, good and bad, and all those things. That is how traditionally our scholars have interpreted that particular verse. And this commentary is actually found in various traditional tafsirs itself. And this is something that they, if they have gone through those sort of classical tafsirs, they would have understood that. So I think that is the answer for the same. And Muhammad Nafal, you can.
Can you? I didn't hear
No,
the
no, no.
question which he have
Actually,
raised.
my query was Allah mentioning in Quran that we created you in pairs, but they were questioning that there are few insects in the earth without pair. They are mentioning they'll be able to transfer from male to female, female to male. They mentioned some fish. I'm not sure about that fish, but they mentioned that earthworm. That
Okay, okay, okay.
Assalamualaikum.
There is an ayat that is, and there is ayat I am not remembering the ayat. If anybody is remembering, you can say.
Yeah, 36th ayah of
Like
36th
me,
وخلق من
chapter.
كل شيء عندنا زوجين اثنين وخلق من كل. Yeah, there is an
Assalamualaikum.
ayat in the Quran which mentioned that. Yeah.
It's
like
36th
me.
ayah of 36th chapter. 36 and 36.
Okay, that means the virus, we can say, for the microorganism, there will not be which is following the sexual reproduction. There will not be any what we say male and female. Is it the line
Yeah,
which you are
yeah.
mentioning? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Is it clear? Clear.
Can I
So
can I
the
answer? Can I answer?
let me say a little bit about it. Okay, the intention of the ayat in that verses is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made a pair or trait for everything, for a day, and if there is a day, then there will be a night, and if there is a true, there will be false, and also if there is a male, then there will be female. That's all. It is not at all specific to it's not at all mentioning about a specific phylum or a specific species or a specific organism. He is considering the intention of the Allah is to mention, to say that if there is a thing, or if there is a male, there will be a female, and if there is a night, there will be a day. So in the cases of earthworm, I'm not saying about earthworm, but if we are saying about the bacteria or the virus, there is not at all we cannot say it is a sexual organism. It is an asexual organism, budding, or what we say, such type of reproduction is occurring in the bacteria and the virus. So there is, this issue is not at all arising in such type of species. The intention of the ayat is in general. If there is a day, then there will be night. If there is a true, there will be a false. And if there is a men, there are female. That's all.
Actually, they mentioned that
Okay.
swordtail fish. They said it is reproducing without male.
Yeah,
Uh,
the
What
so
else
essential
is?
means
So
the
I need a
essential.
clarity on that also. So they were telling they are able to. It is they are telling it is not uh, part of any gender. They 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 raised question like this. But Allah says in Quran, we created you in pair. But there are some being without any gender. Any gender. So that
See,
time we ended that
I,
discussion by saying that we'll have some expert in this biology or some
the in
doctor. We can have discussion like that. We ended like that,
I
but
have
we need clarity on that.
I
Okay.
am a microbiologist. See, see. Hello, can you hear me?
yeah, we
Yeah,
can hear
brother. Go
you.
ahead.
Yes,
We can
yes.
hear you. We can hear
Yeah,
you. We can
okay.
hear you.
The
Yes, no.
intention, the intention of the ayat is not at all to mention that there is a gender. It's not at all focusing on gender. See, we cannot give the subject of gender in the asexual organism. The sexual organisms like protozoa or the bacteria or the fungi, we cannot give such type of label to that such type of organism. So this is not at all arising in such type of species. And also the intention of the ayat is not at all to inform that all the organisms are created by the pairing of male and female. It's not like that. The intention is general. That is, if there is a day, there will be night. If there is a truth, there will be false. If there is an action, there will be an opposite reaction. It's a general concept. It's not at all related to any reproduction or sexual intercourse, nothing. Okay, so their question is
Okay,
not at
brother.
all
So,
focusing on the ayat.
yeah, brother, we actually got your point, and as I have mentioned earlier, all the traditional tafsirs have pointed out to that particular verse in a metaphysical and philosophical manner, and not something that was related to this sort of particular sort of creations, brother. So that is what Muhammad Naufal brother is trying to convey, and I think we can go for other questions because we have a lot of questioners here. Thank you, Abbas. Thank you. Okay.
May I clarify a little bit? Please?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Regarding
Introduce
the verse, okay.
yourself and
I'm Dr. Jausal. I'm a
okay,
medical
brother.
doctor. Okay. The verse in Surah Yasin, سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون. Glory to be Allah who created pairs of all things. Okay. That means the things are paired. There is a positive, there is a negative. And regarding the animals or any species, there will be male and female. Okay, that does not say that the reproduction is always sexual. So there will be the brother mentioned about some fishes. So these fish, hello,
Yes,
this
yes.
Yeah,
fish
we,
has
Continue,
we
male
doctor.
can
and
hear you,
female.
brother. You can.
This fish has male and female. All these kind of lizards, everything has male and female, but they are not reproducing sexually. Quran does not say all the species are reproducing sexually. Even the plants are, most of the plants are not reproducing sexually. Okay, so asexual reproduction is different thing. The Quran verse is different thing. Quran does not mention about the reproductive method or reproduction. It only mentions the genders. There is a male and female. In all organism, all higher organism, there is a male and female. Even the brother mentioned about some lizard or fish. All these species have male and female, but it does not reproduce sexually. Quran does not say all the species are reproducing sexually also. There is asexual reproduction, and some species are reproducing like that. It does not contradict the verse in the Quran. Quran only says there is all the خلق الأزواج كلها. Everything is made in pairs. There is male and female regarding the animals or birds or any fish or anything. And regarding other things, there is paradise and hell. There is good and bad. There is positive and negative, like that. There is matter and antimatter. So everything is, all except Allah is in pairs. That is the message.
Thank you, brother. I think we can have questions
I would also like to add some more points to our answer that was given. Can I? Hello.
To come, okay, we have Mr. Vivek Muthukumar. We will invite him to speak. Mr. Vivek. Okay,
I think he's left.
okay. Anybody who wants to ask some sort of questions, you can raise your hand. We'll let you in.
Hello, hello. Can I ask one question?
Yeah, yes,
Yes,
brother,
yes.
yes.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I have basically two questions. So, I have been actually googling about this evolution and the contradiction in Islam. Actually, and I have actually reached to a conclusion. First of all, I thought evolution actually completely opposed creationism. But then I learned what is creationism and what is evolution. So my first question is, if Islam doesn't contradict evolution, then what are all the information about Adam alayhi salam and Hawa? Because uh, some say that the complete growth of man is was completely done during Prophet's age, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam age. The brain growth, especially the brain growth. So what is was Adam and Eve like us? Was there does they did they have the same thinking capacity just like us? And another question is to Dr. Sayyob, that is there completely credible studies that oppose free thinking? Uh, is there I just said to my friend that there is no free thinking. There is So he said that this is just a debate going on. In philosophy, there were numerous debates on the topic: does free thinking exist or is determinism? So I my second question is to Dr. Sayib, that is there any credible studies that prove that man cannot free think? And first question was that what was Adam and Eve's biological features and physical features like compared to us? Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Salman. First one about evolution. As I told, my field is not biology. I am dealing with earth sciences. So even though then I'll just make a generic comment, as I mentioned in my presentation regarding science, the nature of science. So we use inductive logic in science. So we have a limited set of observations, and the future observation can always change the present conclusion. There is nothing concrete and proven like 100% conclusively proven in science. There's nothing like that. Yeah. So this conclusions can change anytime. For example, in 2017, there was a fossil discovered in from Morocco. So till then, the age of Homo sapiens were assumed to be about I think 2 lakh years or something like that. But this single fossil changed the age by almost 1 lakh years. So imagine about 50% increase in the age of Homo sapiens just by a single fossil. So this can always happen. It can always happen. It can happen anytime. So this is the general nature of science. So I think more detailed comments can be maybe some of other brothers can make a more detailed comment on this. And now about your second question, I think you are talking about free will. So yes, there are some scientific studies which uh, which try to say that the free will doesn't exist, but there are a lot of problems associated with those studies. So we can never say that it conclusively proved that there is no free will, or means they were like that tried to prove that, but the when we see their experiment and experimental setup, we understand there are a lot of problems, and this cannot be conclusively taken as an evidence. And one thing is that, and second thing is, philosophically, when you look from a naturalistic perspective, that is a materialistic perspective, uh, like someone who is an atheist and who deny all sort of supernatural things. So from such a perspective, philosophically, free will is impossible. It's never possible. This is because assume you are made up of atoms and molecules, and your body is supposed to obey the laws of the nature, the laws of the physics, the laws of the chemistry, the laws of natural sciences. So when your body obeys the laws of natural science, the result will be always deterministic. So whatever combination of process going on inside your head, inside your brain, so it will always be limited by the physics, the laws of the physics and chemistry. So the result will be uh, uh, like uh, there won't be any choice. You have one result. If you boil water at 100 degrees, it boils. Water does not have an option. It just obeys the laws of the physics. So from such a perspective, free will is impossible. So so if you consider you have free will, then this belief is incompatible with the idea of naturalism or materialism. So if you have free will, this proves that naturalism or materialism is wrong. Okay, I think your first question, maybe some other brothers may
Okay.
add more on.
Can I add something to it? Hello.
I think Zian brother is trying to add something. Zian, do you want to share something, brother?
Yeah, I want to talk about the evolution question.
Okay,
So,
brother, you can go ahead.
okay, now, Alhamdulillah, recently we have had, new works that have furthered our thinking, okay, our perspective of evolution and how it aligns with Islam. Is it contradictory? And if it's contradictory, where can the changes be made? Now, okay, and the references are, okay, I'll suggest you a book to read, which is Islam and Evolution by Dr. Shuaib Malik. Okay, and the blog spot of Abu Huraira. Okay, both these resources is available in our server, Epistemic Muslims Kerala, our Discord server. Okay, now let me get into the topic. Now, from a metaphysical perspective, okay, there's nothing wrong in accepting that science says humans evolved, and accepting that the Quran says that Adam is a miraculous creation who's a human being. Okay, why is this so? Because science is the study of patterns and regularities in this universe. And the point to note is that the Quran is silent about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created other creatures. Okay, the Quran only specifically states that Adam alayhi salam was created miraculously. Okay, now to understand human evolution and the creation of Adam alayhi salam, what we have to understand is the difference between between science and miracles. Okay, well, science is the study of patterns and regularities of this universe. A miracle is something that breaks this pattern, that is outside the scope of science. So if science concludes that humans have evolved from, humans and chimps have a common ancestor, it won't contradict the Quran because that's what we expect of science to find. Okay, now let me give you an example. Imagine me and brother Harzin and brother Muzammil. Okay, brother Harzin goes to a shopping mall. Okay, And then he calls me and says, I have seen Brother Muzammil in this mall, but I couldn't talk to him. Okay, I have seen Brother Muzammil at 4 o'clock and I couldn't talk to him. Now, I know, okay, that Brother Muzammil was with me at 4 o'clock. Okay, while Harzin, okay, Brother Harzin is justified to believe that he saw Brother Muzammil until he gets the evidence that Brother Muzammil was with me. You get the point? Similarly, science and people who reject the Quran has only one part of the whole picture. So they conclude that humans came from chimps. Because I, okay, in the example, have both the pictures, that Brother Muzammil is with me and that Brother Harzin must have mistaken someone else. I have the whole picture and I am, perfectly justified to conclude that Brother Harzin is wrong, but it is not his mistake. Okay, he has only a part of this evidence. Similarly, when we take this into science, science studies the patterns and regularities. And by the way, the modern synthesis is a fundamental theory in biology. Okay, so this theory says that, it studies the pattern, it studies the observations, and says that, okay, humans must have come from a pre-human species. But since we have the revelation, and since we know this revelation is true, we can conclude that, okay, science is blind to this revelation. So if science says something, it's okay. Since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says he created Adam alayhi salam miraculously, we are justified to conclude that he is not a part of the evolutionary chain. Okay, now as I said, if you join our server, our Discord server, Epistemic Muslims Kerala, we'll provide you with, the resources.
Brother, a news is actually coming in. It is trending in all over in social media, and this is something which is related to Darwinism. And they have discovered a fossil fuel called, a dragon man, and that particular dragon man is found to be 1.5 lakh older than Neanderthals, man. So this particular discovery is actually forcing so many people to rediscover and rethink what we call it as modern Darwinism. You can actually go, you can once the session is over, you can actually go and check out discovery of dragon man skull in China prompts rethink of human evolution. This is the whole point of our whole discussion was all about, and that is the we were talking about how things, they change and and come to a point where there is no sort of a clash or something like that. So even today we have a news which claims new evidence has been discovered, and there is a rethink for this whole Darwinism thing. I don't know whether it is a coincidence or some sort of help from God or something like that. So I think we can go for other guys.
Brother, I have a little bit to add to that based on the Quran. Can I?
Yeah.
Yes, brother. Yes, brother. You can.
Yeah, okay,
You can definitely. The state.
okay, thank you. And the brother Salman raised about the perfectness in the creation of Adam alayhi salam and Hawa radiallahu anha. Is it, Salman?
Yes, yes, yes.
Is it?
Hello.
Yes, he asked.
Okay, okay.
He asked
Yeah,
about
okay,
that.
okay. Okay. Thank you. So in Quran, the second surah, Surah Al-Baqarah, we can see that وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. That means after the creation of Adam alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give every information. Asma in the dictionary meaning, we can see that it is only the names. But based on the tafsir, they are saying that Mufassirins saying that Asma means all the information from the start to the end of the word till Qiyamah, Yawmul Qiyamah. That means he give all the information to Adam alayhi salam. That means his brain was that much perfect to absorb or withhold all the information from the start to beginning. This is the information of the Quran. That means we can see that as Dr. Sayub told that is, there are 4 ways of gaining information as per the epistemology. And if we are saying about the Ilmul Kalam in the Sharia, we have 3 ways. In the epistemology, they are adding one more, but in the Sharia, we have 3 ways. One is khabar sadiq, that means Quran. What Quran is saying, we cannot undoubtedly, it is a truth information that is from the Quran. So the perfect, and also Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is proudly saying that ana sayyidu wuldi Adam la fakhra. I am the leader of the son of, or the children of Adam alayhi salam. That means he is himself, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is himself giving what we say affiliation to Adam alayhi salam. That means there is no doubt for the perfectness in the creation of Adam alayhi salam as per the Quran, as per the history, and as per the every source of knowledge, we can say. And the second one, Brother Muhammad, just before he told that there is evidence for the dragon fly or something, or whatever it may be. There are evidence for the fossils, which is 2 lakh or
No,
10 lakh.
no, brother. I'll correct you. Actually, today there is a trending news which is related to this Darwinism. They have discovered a fuel of dragon man, and this previously we thought that it is Neanderthal is the oldest skull that we have discovered, and today they have discovered this dragon man skull, and it is something which is very closer to humans. And day by day they are discovering more fossil fuels which are actually forcing them to rethink the concept of Darwinism. So my
Whatever it
point
may
was
be,
like,
yeah,
yeah,
whatever it may be, in the Quran, while the creation of Adam alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made a suggestion, a mushawara with malaika, the angels. Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa. I am I am going to make a representative in the world, in the earth. So at that time, malaika, the angels told that, "Ataj'alu fiha man yufsidu fiha wa yasfiku dima." Oh God, are you going to create a group of organisms who are shedding the blood and making all the fitna? Are you going to make? So there is a question should be arise. How the malaikat is going to know that if human are created, there will be a bloodshed will be there, or there will be a clash will be there? How the malaikat came to know? Because all the knowledge, all the pre-knowledge and foreknowledge, everything is exclusively with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in that ayat, the mufassirin, the ulama is mentioning that there is a pre-experience for the malaikat. It is in the second surah of Surah Al-Baqarah. In the beginning, you can see that there is a mentioning about the creation or the existence of a different creation organisms which are not at all ins, that means not at all man, human, or not at all jinn. There is a specific type of organism where there existed in the earth. They were quarreling, they used to quarrel, they used to shed the blood. So whatever it may be, if you are finding if tomorrow, if you are getting the fossils which proven that with the carbon dating, which is proven that it has lakhs of million years ago, that means they are proving, even though in the Quran we can see the possibility of the existence of a specific organism or specific creature other than human. Okay, so there is a, even if there is a, if you are finding a skull or a fossil, it's not at all contradicting the or the usul or the aqidah of Islam or the Quran. Thank you.
Can I say something about this topic, Muhammad?
yes, brother, you can go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, I actually, there is something that I actually don't understand, because what I know is that evolution and Islam, they don't go together, especially when we're talking about macro evolution, especially when it comes to Prophet Adam, peace be upon him. And as we can read from the Quran, Allah tells us that our father Adam has gone through different steps, and that he has created with his own hands. And when he was asking Shaitan to bow down to Abuna Adam, and like our father Adam, and he even like in another place, as the brother told us now in Surah Al-Baqarah, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was teaching Abuna Adam all the information and everything. That's one thing. But when we're talking about macro evolution, evolution has a lot of problems. There are a lot of holes within it. There are a lot of things that it cannot explain. So I would say that we shouldn't drag evolution that has a lot of problems with Islam. What we know is that evolution always lacks, and with all the fossils they found and everything, we know that things that have been found and things that are missing, they can't be even like put in one line, because what is found and what is missing is more than what is found. And I would recommend the brother to read the book that says Theistic Evolution with Stephen Meyer and all of these, where they tell you that there is actually a very big problem. Because what they suggested, or one of the things they suggested, was that they said that there is somehow these minor changes finally they will lead to into major changes, yeah, from microevolution into adaptations, then finally they will change into macroevolution. But the question then came, where is the line? What like when can we say this is where the minor changes end to major changes end? And I will also recommend that to watch, if you would watch like Dr. Iyad Kunaibi. He's a PhD pharmacology graduate of Houston University, and he teaches in Jordan, like universities in Jordan. And he has about more than 90 episodes of evolution, where he rejects all the things that evolution has proposed scientifically. And now, though he made all those episodes in Arabic, now some of them are available in English, where he's starting, and he called it the journey of certainty, the journey of certainty, where he talks about the holes within evolution and a lot of questions that it cannot answer. So I would say that there are a lot of scholars who said, I wouldn't say a lot, but some scholars who said that guided evolution, we don't have a problem, or non-guided. But that's also opening another problem now that we don't have. So I would actually recommend brothers not to put evolution or not to relate it with Islam. When it comes to Abuna Adam, it's already closed. We know that it is impossible to go through the type of evolution that we're talking about. And if we talk about genetics and all of these, there are even a lot of problems. Like when DNA came, things got like more difficult than it was in the past. And day after day, we're coming to know that things are becoming more complicated for evolutionaries. Now they're even trying to change maybe some kind of proposal to explain maybe if there are other ways, not the classical method of microevolution finally changing into macroevolution, when we know that the eye color only, the eye color, we need about 16 genes. And we know that one gene to form, it needs about like the calculity of 1 over 10 to the power 77. 1 over 10 to the power 77. That's one gene. And for one eye color, we need 16 genes. You see this whole big number. So, as said, I would say that evolution has a lot of problems, and there are a lot of professors, and we know why evolution is backed till today within the Western area, because it is pushed by some governments. Some even there were some videos that made against
Yes,
people who
brother.
refuted, like expelled and
Yes,
so on.
brother. Yes, brother. Yes, brother. We definitely agree with you with the things that you shared, and when we understand how certain vested interests are trying to push this idea so that they could gain some sort of leverage. Let's go back to the topic. So, do we have any people who question or the motion that we have in today's topic? is scientism the only way to the truth? And Dr.
Yes,
Sayyid has presented scientism is not the
yes.
only way to the truth. So do we have people who question that proposition?
Yeah, I would like to ask my brother Dr. Sayub first. I don't know if I greeted everyone here. Let me greet again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. I wanted to ask people who say that science is the only way of knowing information. Can we say that? Okay, or maybe can they prove that this idea of science is the only way of the truth itself, is it being proven in a lab that science is the only way, like the the things that they are proposing itself, is it being proven in a lab?
Yes, brother. Walaikum salam warahmatullah. I had already mentioned in my presentation in the beginning. This is a contradictory idea. It cannot prove itself. So it that idea itself is not scientific.
We have Mohammed Ijaz. We'll let him in. Okay, he's not ready to come over here. Do we have any other participants who can?
Yes, I'd like to add something.
Okay.
Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I've been listening to this discussion for a while, and there is something that I noticed that I thought it should be something that should be set out. Now, this topic, the topic we posted over here, illusion of scientism, and how science can be used to find the truth. That is what we were initially discussing about. But somehow instead of discussing whether science can be used to find the truth, we are already setting the bar. We are saying, yes, science can be used to find the truth completely, all of the truths. And then we are moving on to evolution, and we are speaking about how it affects Islam. Now, that is purely, I don't mean any disrespect to any of the questioners. You guys asked good questions, but this is purely just avoiding the topic, because the topic at hand, it is the flaws of science. Now, this is something that's really wrong in the modern day. We're not criticizing science enough, because science, it's not a perfect tool. We should be skeptical about it, like we are supposed to. The scientific method itself, it says, be skeptical. So that is what I wanted to say. All the time, this is something we see all the time, even in discussions with atheists and the like. We see that the topic just diverts, it goes away. It goes from science and it lands at Islam. Even if the question, even if the discussion is about science purely, nobody spoke about Islam, it lands at Islam. This is something that should be pointed out, because atheists think the entirety of their ideology, it is based on the attacking of theology. Without religion, there will be no atheism. Atheism is a religion that exists with other religion. It's a lone religion of sorts. It cannot exist without attacking other religion. It cannot exist without moving the question, saving itself, ignoring itself, and attacking all others. That is what I wanted to say. Jazakallah khairan for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Badusha. I just want to support the last two speakers. Yeah, scientism, obviously, there are a lot of flaws. It's a lot of dogmas in the scientific world, which you are supposed to believe. And I honestly believe, as a man of science, I have a background in science, pretty long one. That it's again one of the dogmas. It's not an exact science. It's just a congestion of several findings put together. As a Muslim, you can believe in evolution. You don't have to believe in evolution. You don't have to defend Islam from evolutionists. Evolution is a belief. If you really look around, unless you are you are an expert, a scientist in evolution. For example, if someone asks you, do you believe in string theory? The typical answer could be, a honest answer could be, I don't know what string theory. So I don't have to say whether I believe in string theory or I don't believe in string theory. Science is not a belief, it's understanding. You either understand it or you don't understand it. Even if you understand it, it doesn't have to be right. Like, for example, there have been many theories in physics which are later proven wrong, but you can still understand what the theory is. So evolution can be treated as one such theory where you don't have to be defensive and you don't have to explain Islam in terms of evolution. I'm not saying that you have to go around attacking it and be called a creationist, which is another typical derogatory term that the evolutionists use. Uh, but at the same time, yeah, I just want to support the previous two speakers saying we don't have to express ourselves in terms of the popularly accepted scientific dogmas. Thank you.
So the forum is specifically for atheists and agnostics. So Aftab, do you have a question?
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, just a question
Walaikum
here.
salam. Okay, brother.
Yeah, it's actually a question for the moderators. It's just a concern that I've been reading for some just recently regarding these whole science versus.
What
Hello,
happened? The
sorry about
person.
that. Some
Okay.
network issue. Sorry about that. So basically, my question is, I believe some of the moderators here are academics, and they would be able to shed some light in this. I've been reading on non-overlapping magisteria, which is basically saying that the the usual thesis that atheists puts forward is that science and religion are two separate things, and they are searching for the truth individually. I mean, exclusively. So I think this particular notion actually fueled the separation of science and religion to an extent. Uh, uh, Looking back into history of science, a lot of the academics have said that science and religion is not a separate entity. They can coexist. They have coexisted until now. You can see many examples in the past of theologians being scientists and polymaths and so on. So I think the modern day new atheism has kind of fueled this particular notion that the separation of science and religious quest to truth is a separate one. Any is my thesis of is this understanding from my personal reading, is this correct, or is there any other way of looking at it?
I'd like to comment on that if I'm given the opportunity.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah,
Brother
sure.
Abdullah.
All right, so this is the usual, it's a good question. It's the usual atheist rhetoric that religion is an enemy of science. There is an antagonistic nature between religion and science. But the thing is, religion and science, indeed, it is different. It is different as methodologies. It is different as to what purposes both of them achieve. Religion serves a very, very specific purpose that cannot be achieved by science. They're completely different methodologies that serve different purposes. So indeed, religion and science are not the same, and they will never be the same. They're different. But the atheists say, the opponents, they usually say, no, atheism is an enemy, science is an enemy of religion. Religion and enemy cannot go together. Religion and science cannot go together. It's antagonistic. It doesn't work out. But is this actually true? Because science, as a methodology, it is limited to the physical world. What we see around us, how we can look, examine, and learn what is around us. That is what science is about. It's a methodology to learn, to derive knowledge through a specific method. You take something, a leaf, for example, the leaf. You take a leaf, you ask why it's green. Why is the leaf green? You put it under a microscope, you examine it, you see the chloroplasts, and you see all of these pigmentation used for photosynthesis. How do you learn all this? You learn this through observation, hypothesization, and you understand. And this is the methodology of science. This is what science is. Now, what is religion? Do you use religion to use a microscope, observe God, astaghfirullah, observe God and then say, oh wow, God is this, that? No, this is not what religion is. It's not the purpose that religion serves. Religion serves this purpose of giving morality, as in deen. We say deen in Arabic. It means a way of life. It's a way of life. That is what religion is. It's a morality, a moral system, a socio-political, complete moral system that dictates how humans should behave. That is what religion is. It's not a methodology to learn through observation. That's not what religion is. I'm not ashamed to say that. It's not a methodology to learn. It's a methodology to know instantly. You can know it. It's being done for you. All of the moral conclusions are being reached for you by who? An objective moral source. It's a methodology to know the way to live as human beings. And that is what religion is. And I don't see antagonism over here. I don't see enmity over here. Religion and science, just because it's different, doesn't mean we're enemies. It's like saying, me, Abdullah, I am a different person. I'm a unique individual. And Brother Suhail here, he's a unique individual. Therefore, we are enemies. That's a disconnected argument. It's a false argument. It doesn't make sense. Both of these things are different and they can coexist, indeed. But they cannot be the same, of course, because they're different. And another thing to note, religion cannot be changed, it's subjective. That's the difference between science and religion, really. Because science, as was explained by Brother Dr. Sayyub earlier on, science is ever changing. You don't get conclusions. Religion, however, contradicts that. It doesn't ever change. It's not something like that. It is something that already, by default, it has all of the objective conclusions reached. And all of these objective conclusions are derived from the objective source that you get from the only possible objective existence, which is God. And thus, religion, it's fundamentally different from science in its objectivity and the way it can reach conclusions. It's a different methodology, a different ideology, but it's not antagonistic to each other. I hope that cleared it up. Jazakallah khair.
So let me rephrase the question for the general audience. Is Islam against science? Because on a ground level, that is how the propaganda is being done. Islam is something that is against science. On a philosophical level, Abdullah has made a clear distinction between religion and science, and that doesn't mean that they don't have to conflict with each other. For the general audience, let's put this in this way: is Islam against science? And I think Muhammad Naufal sir will be the right person to answer.
I didn't hear. I was in the prayer. Can you?
Okay, okay. The question was, is Islam against science?
Okay. Then
That's it.
Islam against science means in the which angle is the question? Is the Islam is against the science? Is
So,
it?
in a sense, yeah, the pursuit of knowledge, in the sense of pursuit of knowledge, and in the sense of pursuit of discovery.
Okay. Thank you. And first of all, the first question which you have raised in the beginning of the discussion, the morality of the how the morality deciding the morality based on the scientific discovery you have discussed in the beginning of the discussion. From there, I think I can start. That means if the science is put forwarding a discovery, for example, the Covishield or the vaccine, we have now I am in the Saudi Arabia. Here it is the Saudi government is not at all accepting the Sinopharm, the Chinese vaccine, because they have their own criteria, they have their own what we say the rules and regulation to accept and to implement the scientific discoveries here. That means for every country there will be, the science is giving a lot of discoveries and a lot of findings in front of us, but the criteria or the stand will decide what things which we have to accept. Like that, this is while we are considering about the country. But in the case of the religion, it's they have it have Islam have its own stand and its own what we say opinion for each and every fact in the life which depend upon the life of a human being. Like communism, you can see the Communist Party in the case of the Kerala, we can see that they have their own stand in each and every things they are for example, the sharing of the information in the sprinkler case, you have told that we have heard that the sharing of the information to another person is against the ideology of the communism. So it was a problem. They have their own ideology for every stand. Like that, as a religion, Islam have its own rules and regulation and stand for everything. If for the example, the science is put forwarding the idea of the cloning, we know that in the whole world about 4 or 5 countries have discussed about the acceptance of the cloning. In the perspective of Indian, we cannot think about such type of cloning, but science is put forwarding in front of us. The Indian government is measuring the consequences of the cloning or the birth of offspring or the output of the cloning. If it is existing in the Indian community, what will be the consequences? What will be the situations after the introduction of this type of individuals? So they are analyzing and they are making a decision. Okay, it is not at all acceptable in the arena of India. Like that, in Islam have its own ideology, its own rules and regulation to accept and deny everything, like a country have. So Islam will be deciding, okay, if there is a finding cloning, we are deciding it should not be acceptable. That's all. For the science is put forwarding a lot of finding, a lot of information in front of us. We will measure with our scale and we will decide whether it is acceptable or rejectable. That is one thing about the morality or the acceptability. That means we cannot say that science can decide a thing which is a truth or a false. It cannot decide. It is based on the individual or a frame. If a person, for example, an atheist or anybody, if he is not at all accepting the rules and regulations of a country or a religion, then there will be his own rules and regulation in his mind. He will be measuring based on his own scale and he will choose whether it should be accepted or it should be neglected. That means the science, the ideology of the science, it is throwing in front of us. We individuals or the society or the religion or the country will decide whether it should be accepted or rejected. So the science has that limitation which we should not forget. And based on the scientific truth or the scientific informations which the Islam is put forwarding through the Quran or through the hadith or through the masail of the fiqh, we can say that I don't because it will be, if we are talking about it, it will be very elaborated. We are not at all put forwarding the scientific
Yeah,
information.
yeah, yeah,
That's okay.
yeah.
Okay, that's
I
in general
exactly
sense I
got.
told.
Yeah,
Okay, in the specificity, if it is needed in specific, I can reply as per the questions. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. We got your point, brother. We got your point. So I think that comes the okay.
Can I have a comment,
So
moderator Muhammad?
yes, brother, you can go. Do you have a question or you want to add some points to it?
Yeah,
Because
I would like to
we are
comment on this topic, say on the same topic.
okay. Okay, you can go.
Actually, the common notion that the science is against religion, we have to see in a historical point of view also. The notion came from the common, the history in the Middle Ages, especially the conflict between the religion of Christianity and the science in one way. So there was a fight, there was a difference in opinion between the church and the science. Like there was a common term you might have heard about Inquisition, where the many scientists were tortured, and they were questioned, they were crucified in all the way. The science was against religion, or religion was against science in that Christian, under that Christian rule, or in that during that time. So from that point of view, if you look, we can see that in that war, in that conflict, the science had an upper hand finally. So from there, people started viewing that the religion is against the science. But according to the Islam, if you examine the Islamic viewpoint, there is nothing like that. We should be against the science, or science should be against the religion, because science is an inquiry about the universe, observable universe, and we also would like to know about the observable universe, of course. Why? Because Allah created this universe and we want to know more and more. So if somebody is finding out or discovering microscope, it's a blessing for us also, because we know Allah's universe in a better way. So definitely Islam will always encourage the observation and the study about this universe. That's what we feel. But who is the patron of the science? If you ask, definitely atheist will say atheism is the patron of the science. We don't know how. Why we are against this one, we don't know. Why they are accusing us that we are against the science. So it's a false accusation, I always believe. That's all I would like to comment.
Yeah, we got your point, brother.
Yeah, I would like to add something to what Brother Najib said, if it is possible.
Yeah, you can go ahead,
All
Abdullah.
right, Jazakallah khair. Okay, so Brother Najib, he went through the history of a conflict between science and religion, as he put it. I'd like to elaborate more on that. History, it's a very important part of understanding how we got here, because everything that we see in the world around us, it is a process of a war of ideologies, and that is how the world around us got shaped, by dominant ideologies taking over at the end of physical warfare and even ideological warfare. So one of this was the Inquisition, as put forward by Brother Najib. So the Inquisition and the scientists, there's something, it's a really nuanced topic actually, because the Pope, the Christians of the time, the Catholics, they believed that the word of the Pope is absolute. The word of the Pope is absolute, and it is the word of God. And they believed that it was objective because it is the word of the Pope. So they used that as a basis to shun and attack those who were bringing conclusions that contradicted those of the Pope. Now over here, when we say science and religion, we shouldn't make the mistake of thinking that the scientists were atheists. This is a very, very common mistake, because scientists, just because you learn science, you don't become an atheist. Just because you walk through a particular road doesn't mean you become a particular, a part of a particular ideology. Atheism and science is distinct. This is something that's peddled by atheists, that science and atheism goes together. And this is said before. Science and atheism is not the same. Atheism is a specific religion. I call it a religion because it is a belief system that puts forth the notion that God does not exist. It's a belief system based on the entirety of the assumption, the claim that God does not exist. So this religion and science, how can they put these together and then claim that Islam and science are antagonistic? It's completely contradictory, and it's serving an agenda. So when we say science versus religion over here in this historical context, we're speaking about a conflict between those who practiced religion, those who believed in religion, and those who practiced science. And you know what the funny thing is? Many of these scientists who were crucified and burned at the stake by the Inquisition, these scientists, they were religion, they were theists, they were Christians. Christian scientists were the ones who were getting burned. They didn't die atheists, they died Christians. And that is how the new branch of Christianity, the new sect of Christianity emerged. It's called Protestantism. Protestantism was a reaction to Catholicism. Protestantism said the Pope's word is not absolute. Such a thing is not possible. We only believe that the Bible is absolute. So these Protestants, they said, no, we will not burn people at the stake just because the Pope said so. So these Protestants, what are they, atheists? No, of course not. These Protestants are Christians who believe in the Bible, who believe in the words of Jesus as they believe it to be, and they're theists. And these were most of the scientists of that time, they were Protestants. They were not atheists. So when we say, when we're speaking about the Inquisition, we need to point that out, because atheists, they believe, they spread this thing, this idea that atheists have been getting genocided, quote unquote, throughout history. It's a very, very, very false notion. It's a very, pleading. It's just playing the victim, you know? Just playing the victim. It's pathetic. Because they want to claim that all of religion has been attacking atheism for hundreds of thousands of years, and the reason for that is because we are the ones on the truth. See how the subtle propaganda plays in. When you speak to an atheist, you believe, oh, he's a really modern guy, and he's been getting attacked for a long time. Let's be a bit gentle. Let's be a bit sympathetic. No, atheism is a religion. It has been surviving for a long time. Atheists have committed atrocities, huge atrocities in the Soviet Union, the Soviet Republic. They have slaughtered millions. They have slaughtered so many scientists. The Soviets, the atheist Soviets, militant atheist Soviets, they have slaughtered scientists. Why? Because those scientists proposed a theory that said the universe has a beginning. This is something that we need to look into. This is a really interesting part of history, because when these Soviet atheist scientists, the Soviet state scientists, they were propagating a theory known as the infinite universe theory. They said that the universe is infinite. There is no beginning to the universe. And this was a widely accepted scientific model for a long time. The Soviet atheists put forth this model and they enshrined it as the truth. They said, no, this model cannot be opposed. And when scientists discovered the expansion of the universe, they discovered other means of that contradicted the infinite universe theory, they put it forth. Soviet, Russian scientists put some of these theories forth. And what did the Soviets do? What did the atheist Soviets do? They imprisoned these scientists, they slaughtered these scientists. Why? Because by suggesting that the universe has a beginning, it's leading to God. It's contradicting the atheism of the Soviets. So when we say science versus religion, what's happening over here? Even atheism is going against religion. Against science. Atheism versus religion. Let's say this. This is something that actually happened in history. You can read it up. Soviet atheism and the rejection of the Big Bang model and the beginning of the universe. Soviet scientists rejected it until the end of the Soviet Republic. And it was a very bloody conflict. The Soviets enforced atheism on the entirety of the population. They slaughtered Muslims, Christians, everybody. No religion in our country, they said, while they were forcing people to believe in atheism. And they say atheism is not a religion? Of course not. Atheism is a religion that it's a leech. It lives off leeching other religions. It says, no, we're just opposing a religion. No, you are believing in something and you're forcing it upon us. So this is something that really, really needs to be put forth onto the ideological battleground between religion and atheists. Because atheists, they claim to be superior. They claim to be better than us, but they're actually worse than us. They don't even have the objectivity we have. We argue based on objectivity. They argue based on nothing. They have no basis at all whatsoever. They claim science is their friend, but science is in a love-hate relationship with them or something. They slaughter scientists, at the same time call themselves scientists. Science and atheism, it's not the same. Religion and science, it's not the same. Science is a methodology. Religion is a methodology. Atheism is a methodology and a belief. This is something that really, really needs to be put forth. Because atheism, it's commonly, very, very commonly, it's even propagated. I've seen TV shows where they propagate atheism as being some religion of, no, not religion, don't call it religion, they'll kill you if you call it religion. Atheism as being the ideology of the scientists. They just portray the characters. They say, oh look, oh, did you just stop believing in God? Oh wow, that's so cool. This is what they propagate. This is the propagation of the atheists. They don't want us to realize, they don't want us to realize that atheism is a religion. It's a belief system. This is something that really, really needs to be put forth to the people. We need to realize, because atheism at the core, unmasked atheism, as the YouTube channel name goes, unmasked atheism, it's basically what? It's rejection of God. Rejection of God is what atheism is. It's a religion, it's a belief system that has slaughtered scientists, and it's an independent belief system that cannot apply to everybody. It does not have a method to arrive at objective conclusions. It does not have a methodology to arrive at truths. It is simply a belief, a rejection of God for no reason whatsoever. There is no reason for the rejection. They're simply believing in it. It's the same as some tribals worshipping a tree. They simply reject God. That's all. There is no proof involved in atheism. It's an illogical, incoherent religion. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. In the end of the session, we have deconstructed certain very key ideas. There is a continuous propagation that religion is against science, and we have made a clear distinctions of how these two are two different methodologies and how they actually don't conflict with each other. And we have cleared a common misconception that Islam is something that is against science, and the notion that science is something which is against religion is a Western notion, and it is not something which is found in Islamic theology, to be very specific. And there is a common myth that atheists don't go for pseudoscience. By citing the example of Soviet Russia, you have practically demonstrated how even atheists are fall into the trap of pseudoscience. And yes, you can actually go and Google all these things that he has specifically mentioned in his speech. There is a guy called Trofim Lysenko, and he proposed a pseudo-scientific theory. And this particular scientific theory was something they believed it's some sort of an absolute truth. And because of believing in these pseudo-scientific theories, which went against the established notions of the communist state, they actually began to follow these pseudo scientific theories as state policy, and as a result of which they created so many historic blunders. There even some historians, they attribute the agrarian crisis of this Soviet Russia to the blind belief in science. And this is what we were trying to demonstrate throughout the entire session, that the illusion of scientism is science the only way to the truth. And by setting the example of USSR, we have highlighted what are the dangers of having a very blind faith in science. What are the dangers of having a very blind faith in science? So we have come to the end of our session, and you guys could actually, we'll be introducing our social media handles to you guys. You could, so that you could go and subscribe to our social media handles for more events and updates. First social media handle is that you could subscribe to our Excited Muslims Clubhouse. We'll be having weekly discussions on topics related to philosophy, science, and religion. So you could actually follow our club. The next, we have a YouTube channel called Unmasking Atheism. So this is a channel where we discuss certain critical ideas related to atheism on a philosophical level. And then we have an Instagram handle called Intelligent Intelligentsia Info. So that these are all our social media handles. You could connect with us, and you can share your feedback with us about how the session went, everything, and that's it. You could also connect with us in our Telegram channel with the same name of Ex-Atheist Muslims, where we will be sharing the lot of papers, research works, philosophical works that prove the existence of God. Thank you. We have come to the end of the session. Um, Brother Suhail, do you like to add some points before we wind up our session?
I think Brother Suhail is outside, as he mentioned at the start. I don't know whether he.
Okay, okay, brother. Mohammed Zian, can you recite the closing prayer so that we could close the session?
Yeah. A small point I'd like to clarify, inshallah. I'm not taking out. About the evolution thing, I wasn't reading evolution into the Quran, but rather I was just merely stating the fact that evolution is not really in conflict with the Quran. So, anyways, you have handles with us in our profiles. You can check my handle, Epistemic Muslims Kerala, and message them, and they will send you the link to our Discord server if you want resources. And as brother mentioned, please follow our social media handles, because inshallah we'd like to spread the truth and earn rewards. Inshallah, may Allah make our intentions pure. And I'm going to end the way the Prophet ﷺ has taught us to end, which is by reciting Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum